also the acting president for the Zoo and Aquarium Association for the New Zealand branch. So I just wanted to talk a little bit about what that means. So the Zoo and Aquarium Association, basically the mission of the Zoo and Aquarium Association is to harness the collective resources of the member zoos and aquariums for conservation biodiversity in the natural environment. So basically, if you are a member of our organization, you are making a commitment to work for conservation of biodiversity, and that includes a number of the animals in your collection, and Kia are a really big part of it. So I just wanted to talk about all the different ways today that the Zoo and Aquarium Association members in New Zealand support the Kia Conservation Trust, and a few ways that we work with and for them. So advocacy, financial support, research, personnel, trials and testing, in-kind donation, and rehoming of in-need Kia. So advocacy, what is it and what does it achieve? We've heard a lot of people talk about that as something that we feel we really need. We feel that zoos are this is an area we can really help with in a huge way. We did a survey last year with all of our member zoos, and we're just starting to get information back from that, and the early indications are showing that more than 2.1 million people visited ZA member organization institutions in the last year. So when we talk about needing more people to know what Kia are, what's going on with Kia, and how we can help, and how to build positive relationships with Kia, our institutions do a lot of work on this. 2.1 million people is not insignificant when you look at the total population of New Zealand. So some examples, Hamilton Zoo, one of their staff wrote a book called Cheeky Charlie, and all the proceeds from this book and all the royalties go to Kia Conservation Trust. So that's just another fun way where a staff took some ownership over something that's a little bit unique and special at Hamilton Zoo and found a way to share that story with children. Shared messaging, a lot of us do work together with the Kia Conservation Trust to share their messaging directly, and in that way we're not just telling about Kia, but we're actually helping create a pathway for people to get involved with Kia Conservation Trust. This is just an example of a recent publication with Natureland, but in combination with Nelson Forest actually. So Nelson Forest and Natureland are in discussions to work together for Kia conservation in the top of the South, and we're really excited about that. And so we actually worked together to put out an article in a local magazine as well, talking about the Kia Conservation Trust and ways that people in Nelson can join together and work for it. I don't have too many slides from all of the organizations. This is an example of a habitat. This is actually Auckland Zoo's Kia habitat on the inside. So I also think it's worth mentioning that we're putting a lot of energy into this, and we're actually putting a lot of resources into it. So our habitats have come a really long way, and many of them are walk-through as well. So we're actually able to offer people experiences of going in with the Kia in habitats that are appropriate for Kia. And so people can actually get that experience. It's great if you come to Arthur's Pass and you're at Devil's Corner when a Kia is there. But at the end of the day, Kia live in really remote locations that not a lot of people go to. I mean, a lot of people in this room have had the joy and pleasure because we've sought them out and we care about it. But average people, they live in hard to get to locations. And not everybody, even if they did have the energy, has the ability to get there. So we offer accessible, means to really experience what a Kia habitat looks like and what makes them special. Education's a really big part of that. A good example, just an hour away from here, is Arana Wildlife Park, and they said that last year they had more than 8,000 students that they were able to speak to, including Kia. And that's 8,000 students in the Canterbury area, only an hour away from Kia habitat, where they can draw those connections really closely. So some really tangible ways that we can work together. Research. You guys have heard a lot about some fantastic research that happened, especially at Willowbank Wildlife Reserve in Christchurch, also only an hour away. And research occurs at other places, but I have some slides here, some work that Willowbank has done. A number of the zoos took part in bait and predator trap testing. Early on, we do repellent trials, we do predator trap trials. This is a good nature trap. I haven't heard a lot of talk about them today, but good nature traps are a humane predator killing auto resetting machine that goes out in various parts. Huge man hours to put it in, but they auto reset, and a piston, an animal goes up to get the bait, and a piston gets released by a CO2 canister and quickly euthanizes the animal inside, and then the trap resets.
Some concern are that they're not fully care-proof, which is...
Yes, so this is what's going on here, is we're actually helping with testing of that, right? So I'm not saying we should be putting it out yet, but I'm saying that we're actually able to actively be involved. Obviously, our traps don't have the piston set, but, but we can put the bait up there, see if they can access it, and go through those trials with it. So those are ways that we can help in safe settings, where we can control the parameters.
Yeah, I put my finger up it before I screwed it onto the
Yeah. So again, yeah, really good examples of how we can help do that. And we at Natureland have worked with the St. Arnaud when they wanted to tweak designs, and I know that just about every zoo in New Zealand has helped with similar things. When a new bait station comes up, or a new trap station comes up, or new innovation like this one comes up, we can help in a really safe and effective manner. Willow Banks also helped with behavioral research. They have a flock of 14 Kia. So they've got a really nice family dynamic, appropriate social setting and situation, and they're able to home a lot of on-site research that goes on there, and that's pretty phenomenal work that just simply wouldn't necessarily be able to occur otherwise. And this helps us inform us on what we know about Kia and what they are capable of, and therefore what they require for the full simulation, which does have really practical applications for how we understand how we can provide for them in conservation in situ. Working with Kia Conservation Trust. So you guys have already heard about the playground and seen it. This is an example of one of it at one of those pine locations in the Nelson Forestry. This is on the top of Kerr Hill. Andrea invited us up, and zoos from around the country helped set it, and the forestry workers actually reset it themselves on a regular basis. So that was an example where with KCT's help, we were able to work together with them and get these guys involved so that they were the ones actually taking ownership of the project. Here's a photo of Tamsin. She came up with a really cool education kit, and then we made her trial it herself on site. And then we've launched the program and done a number in the Nelson region as well. And then more recently also putting her on a global platform. Wellington Zoo had a Wild Ideas Symposium, and Kia Conservation Trust is one of Wellington Zoo's conservation sponsors. So Tamsin took part in a symposium hosted by Wellington Zoo that had a global audience. So just getting a great voice and a great platform through new channels. So it's just another avenue where we can really help out. And then working with Doc, that's nice. Sorry, it should be capital letters. Apologize about that. So this is a keeper named Sarah Van Herp. She's a vet nurse and a keeper. She's currently overseas, but this is her working with some in-need Kia. So occasionally throughout the country, Doc identifies that there are certain Kia that have ended up in a situation where they desperately need to be rehomed, and released into the wild isn't an option. And a lot of times that's where we come into play, and we can help out as well and try and reintegrate them and re-socialize them and get some natural behaviors back, so that humans are no longer the source of their behavioral needs, and instead they start to identify with other Kia as their source of behavioral needs. So this is something that's started happening, and still in early stages and ongoing, but we're seeing some really promising outcomes where we thought that some negative behaviors that were really ingrained in Kia, we're finding that actually given the right social setting and the right environment, you can actually reinstill some really appropriate Kia behaviors and really positive rewards and outcomes. So that's some work that's in the early stages. And yeah, I just want to keep it really brief and just talk about all the different ways that we work as organizations for Kia.
Thank you very, very much.